Hello viewers. Welcome back to Recap Daily. Today we are going to explain an Indian survival drama film called Trapped. Shaurya is a call center employee living in Mumbai, India. He has had a crush on his coworker Nori for a long time. One day, he gathers enough courage to call her but is too shy to express his feelings. But starting that day, he calls her daily and engages in an awkward conversation that Nori seems to enjoy. She loves to flirt with Shaurya and get him nervous but is annoyed at the fact that he never asks her out. When he calls her the next time, she asks him to guess her favorite food in 5 seconds. If he guesses right, she will go out with him, but if it is wrong, she will stop picking up his calls. Although nervous, Shaurya guesses it correctly and lands a date with her. That evening, they go to a street vendor to eat her favorite food. Sometime later, they are in a restaurant talking about different things when Nori casually mentions that she is getting married in 2 months. A surprised Shaurya asks her if her marriage has been arranged by her parents. When she affirms, he continues the conversation, ignoring the topic. That day marks the beginning of their friendship. Nori starts to look forward to meeting him and hardly pays attention to work. They go on several dates and start falling in love with each other. One day, Shaurya brings her to his apartment that he shares with 3 of his roommates. They lock themselves in his room and start making out. Nori stops abruptly and is visibly upset thinking about their future. Shaurya asks her to cancel the wedding and elope with him. At first, she thinks he is joking but starts to consider it when he insists. When she says that she cannot live with his roommate, he promises to find a new apartment by tomorrow and move in with her. Her wedding is in only 2 days, so they will have to be quick. Right after she leaves, Shaurya calls several dealers to look for an appropriate apartment. However, because of the timing and low budget, he doesn't get any. He spends the entire day visiting apartment complexes with little to no progress. In one of such meetings, a stranger hears him talk about wanting an affordable place. He approaches Shaurya saying that he has a perfect place for him. Shaurya is skeptical at first, but he agrees to come to have a look at the apartment anyway. He is brought to a newly built high-rise apartment complex that seems to be way more expensive than what he can afford. He is told that the complex was built 2 years ago but is empty due to construction and legal issues. The apartment that he is being offered belongs to a man who hardly ever comes to that place. The stranger he just met is only a caretaker of the place, but since the owner has been absent for 2 years, he is unethically handing it to Shaurya for money. The couple will be the only people living in the massive building, which unsettles Shaurya. But when he gets a look at the apartment, he forgets about all the sketchy things related to it. It is massive with a bedroom, a kitchen, a living area, a bathroom, and a fenced balcony. The place is clearly worth way more than the price he is paying. He finalizes the deal and gets the keys to the place. Following that, he packs up his luggage from his old place but doesn't tell his roommates about his plans to elope. He simply claims that he is going home for a few days and leaves. At his new apartment, he lays down a mattress, cleans the room a little, and falls asleep, hoping to surprise Nori the next day. He has put his phone to charge but the power cuts off. The following morning, he wakes up late and quickly does his morning routine. He further notices that none of the taps are working and uses bottled water to brush his teeth. After some minutes, he finally steps out of the apartment and locks it. However, he has to run inside again to get his phone. He forgets to get the keys and accidentally locks himself inside. Nori calls him and asks him why he is late. Shaurya explains that he will be there in a few minutes but doesn't tell her where he is to keep it a surprise. When the call ends and he tries to get out, he realizes that he is in trouble. He forcefully tries to open the lock but fails. He finds some tools in the drawers and uses them, but without the keys, opening it seems almost impossible. Following that, he calls a helpline asking them to send someone to break the lock. But to his misfortune, his phone dies before he can tell them the address. He tries to charge it again, but the power outage only makes it difficult. Shaurya gets more irritated with time and starts to bang the door to break it but is unsuccessful yet again. Moreover, he hurts his hand in the process. Moments later, he comes to the balcony and calls the watchman, who cannot hear him because of the noise of the traffic and the height. Shaurya finally registers that he is stuck in the apartment. His plan to elope with Nori has failed because she will probably think he has run away afraid of commitment. He cleans the wound with the little bottled water he has left. In hopes of charging his phone's battery, he keeps it out in the sun, but it does nothing. Following that, he continues shouting for help. Hours pass but no one hears him. At night, he eats a packet of biscuits and falls asleep.
When he wakes up the next morning, the power is still out and the taps aren't working either.
He yet again tries to open the door with everything he has in the house. Even after throwing a chair and a fan at it, it doesn't budge. Shaurya is now ready to take extreme measures to get out. He unplugs the TV mounted on the wall and throws it off the balcony. It lands below with a loud bang, but the watchman still doesn't notice it. Later, he eats away all the biscuits and is left with little to no water.
He notices several pieces of cardboard on top of the kitchen shelf and thinks of a plan.
Using his toothpaste, he writes, "Help," and the name of the building on them and drops it off the balcony. To his dismay, the cardboard lands on someone's roof where no one is going to find it. Shaurya doesn't lose hope and does the same with another piece of cardboard that lands on another building's roof.
When he runs out of toothpaste, he uses his blood to write the message and drops 2 more cardboards off the balcony.
One of them lands directly below the building while the other one lands on someone's terrace. He stays on the balcony waiting for someone to find them and look for him. In the evening, a woman comes to the terrace to pick up clothes that had been drying in the sun. Shaurya gets up and starts yelling at her but is disappointed when she doesn't notice the cardboard. At night he goes to the kitchen and sees that he is completely out of food. He also notices a rat on the floor and is terrified. While trying to run away from it, he hits his head on the wall and falls unconscious. The next morning he wakes up still on the floor.
He sees that the tap in the kitchen sink is working but he is too scared to go inside because of the rat.
Soon, it runs out of water and he is left disappointed. He had broken his glasses last night that he fixes with a pajama string. In another attempt to make someone see him, he builds a makeshift slingshot and uses it to launch pebbles at the woman on the top of the roof. The pebbles catch her attention but she ignores them after seeing no one around. Another day passes in a similar way. At night, Shaurya uses his clothes to write help on the balcony's bar and starts banging the bars with a pan. He does it till the morning but no one hears him. The watchman finally finds the cardboard he had thrown but the guy cannot read so he ignores it. Later, the woman from the nearby house also finds the cardboard. She looks around but cannot see Shaurya from that height. He yells for help trying to get her attention and is overjoyed when he sees her coming to the apartment complex. The woman asks the watchman if anyone stays there. The man claims that he has worked there for 2 years and is sure no one is in the building. The woman is still not satisfied so she goes up several floors. However, the empty place spooks her out so she returns home. Shaurya sees her leaving and loses the speck of hope he had. When it turns dark, he burns the clothes that were hung in the bars. When that starts to blow out, he also lights the mattress on fire. He jumps up and down, sure that the fire is bound to get someone's attention. However, the plan goes wrong when the fire spreads to a couch. He somehow blows it out with his vest and falls asleep. Out of hunger, he dreams of eating his favorite meal with Nori like they used to. He also remembers the survival shows that teach to eat anything one gets when they are deserted. Taking the advice, he goes to the kitchen to kill the rat but freaks out when it runs towards him. The next day, thirst gets the best of him. So, he reluctantly pees on the pan and drinks it. However, the taste makes him vomit right after. He spends the entire day sleeping and wakes up the next morning to heavy rainfall. Shaurya quickly collects water in the pan and drinks from it. He also uses everything that is a container to collect as much water as he can, including the fridge, the flush tank, and the paint cans. The next morning, a pigeon lands on the balcony. With his only chance, Shaurya uses the slingshot to kill it and use it as food. However, when he tries to skin it, he is disgusted. A flashback shows us the time he and Nori were out on a date. Shaurya, who has been a vegetarian his entire life, argues that killing helpless animals for food is unethical. Back in the present, he reluctantly cuts the bird's head off and roasts it. He also gets over his fear of rats and manages to trap it. When the isolation takes the best of him, he talks to the rat about all the ways he can escape. He has seen that an apartment some floors below him doesn't have bars on the balcony. If he manages to get to the apartment and the door is open, he could walk right out of it. However, for that, he has to cut the bars off his balcony first. The only tool he has is a metal sheet, but he starts sawing it anyway. Several days pass, but he doesn't give up trying to cut it. He feeds on ants, cockroaches, and occasional birds. When things get tough, he starts to miss little things he used to dread, like getting pushed by sweaty people on the bus. After many days of sawing and burning the railing, it finally breaks. Shaurya takes the chance and carefully climbs down the bars of 3 floors. When he finally gets to the one with no bars, his legs are too short to climb in. He uses his belt for support and finally gets inside it. With much courage, he pulls the door to the apartment and is overjoyed when it happens to be open. He climbs down the stairs and finally makes eye contact with the watchman. He has 100 things he wants to say to him, but he simply walks away. A week later, Nori comes to visit him in the hospital. She believed that he had abandoned her and has already gotten married. He tries to hold her hand, but she moves it, knowing that they cannot be together now. Some days later, Shaurya returns to work but is shattered to see that his friends and colleagues had not even noticed his absence. Later that day, he goes to his favorite restaurant and enjoys his favorite food that he missed dearly. In the last scene, he returns to the apartment and looks at the broken bar. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching.